Is this thing on?
All right, let's get this show on the road.
Okay.
Giddy up.
Everybody, welcome to the Alec LaCasse podcast with Doug
There
Linker.
you go. Thanks. Thanks for having me, Alec. I too
Hey,
will
Doug.
talking to my microphone.
See, you don't have to because you got that little one. I have to talk into the microphone or else I sound off.
I can't tell how big yours are because you're so short compared to it. Like,
how dare you? How dare it be two podcasts in a row? You make fun of my height.
No, I'm just saying you could hide. You could hide behind your microphone. It's front and center. That's about right.
I'm hiding behind my microphone for those of you who are listening. Okay, so did we start?
I have no clue. We can start. We can start now.
Okay. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Alec LaCasse podcast.
There.
I'm so sorry. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Doug and Alex show, also known as the Coffee and Carving show, also known as the Dan and Alex show. This is a pear. I have them holding a pear.
Are we gonna start eating in the microphone now? How's it going?
I'm pretty good. I just left a client's house and it was a nice reunion. I spent 2 years working on a carving in their backyard, so we became friends, all of us. And I hadn't seen them in a while, so went over there, talked about a commission, and they gave me some meat from their meat delivery guy who was stopping over, and now I'm here with you.
What's a meat delivery guy? What is this thing?
Apparently, if you're really wealthy, you hire a man to deliver your meats, and it's very fancy meat. He gave me these burgers, and I read the ingredients. The first ingredient is sirloin. The second ingredient is filet.
Wow.
And then
it'll be good boogers.
Yeah.
Good boogers.
Good boogers.
Good boogers.
Burgers. Fancy meat. So I guess, yeah, they're well off people, right? So they can, I mean, the neighborhood, if I showed you the neighborhood, it'd absolutely blow your mind. It's a gated, every time you drive into the neighborhood, you have to talk to a guy named Ron, and he has to approve your arrival, and you have to confirm. Sometimes they'll even ask you questions, and what was funny was I went there for 2 years consistently, and Ron would sometimes forget who I was and be like, so you say your name is Alec? I'd be like, yep. He says, all right, well, what are you doing here? It's like, I've been here every day for 2 years, Ron. So, oh, that's right. Okay, you got any pictures of that carving you're working on? So anyway,
I follow a fella named Maverick who kind of a vagabond, sleep in his truck kind of a guy. And just for, of course, to make it more extreme, he was cutting up A5. This A5, this crazy steak. It's Wagyu A5.
Oh, that's really fancy.
And he was grinding that up to make a burger. He wanted to make a $300. He wanted to make a $300 hamburger.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
that's a crime. It's a shame.
I know nothing of these fancy meat like that, but
no,
it would be. I would love to have some, but that's not in the old Dougie's budget.
Buy us a coffee and we'll turn it into steak. No.
Wagyu. Yeah.
No, buy Doug a steak. We
go ahead. I was just gonna say, what have you been up to?
Well, that's basically it. I mean, well, there's more, but more importantly, what have you been? I know what you've been up to, but I haven't heard the full gist of it yet, or the gist. I've only heard the gist of it. What were you doing?
I was on a little trip up in the north. Me and my buddy Joe, we did a hike in just a little trip, but it was the difference of the fun factor was we hiked in. I'm not even sure how far it was, to be honest. It's only like 12 kilometers, but it's like brutal, like up and down this canyon walls and stuff. And so the distance does not represent the work effort. Like
Right.
it was a hard hike, but the fun part was we brought in pack rafts, and so we only hiked in so far to this massive waterfall, and then we blew up our rafts and floated out, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Just about froze to death the night before. It was so cold. Picture this monster waterfall. We're so happy to have got the campsite by the waterfall. Don't ever camp near a massive waterfall. It's just like mist in the air. And
Mm.
as the night got colder, everything was wet, and you got colder, and the damp just set right in. It was just so cold. Had a terrible, terrible night's sleep, but the sun came out in the morning, and we went down the river, and I was so anxious, not anxious, but maybe a little concerned. We had neither one of us had done anything like it. We do lots of canoe tripping together, and that's pretty much just flat water, simple distance trips. And this was a little bit of white water, and never being in these little tiny rafts, not knowing what to expect. But shoot, 50 feet in off to start off, like, oh, this is fantastic.
Really?
Oh yeah, such control of this little inflatable boat,
Wow.
and it was great. It's great. So we covered in about 2.5 hours what we did in 12 hours a day before. So
Of hiking. Right.
yeah, and we did some fishing too on the way up, so it was good.
How long of a trip was it?
It was only like, we were only gone for maybe 30 hours.
Okay.
That's it. But for me, the trip is half the trip is getting up there. Like, it's a 10-hour drive, and
Right.
like, I drove home overnight last night, and I went to bed about 5 o'clock this morning. So I'm not all there today,
Right.
and I
Yeah.
can feel every bone in my body, but
Oh,
that comes with it.
did you take some Advil before you got on with us?
No, no, no. My stomach doesn't like that stuff, and it'll pass. It's just old man stiffness. You
Right.
can't just go climbing up and down like that with the weight on your back. You got to build up to it.
Right.
But I sure didn't.
You sure didn't.
But yeah, that's my highlight.
Was it a challenge to film that process? Because for the viewers, there was a filmed process, correct?
Yeah, I'll have a video out this weekend,
Mm.
but it's always a challenge. I didn't bring any big cameras. I only brought little cameras, and I did watch some clips already. And yeah, I didn't. You can't capture the essence. Like, even the steepness of the climbs doesn't translate to these little action cameras.
Right.
But in the boat, I put a head mount on my head,
Okay.
but
Nice.
I've already noticed, though, it's when you start moving your head, it really, someone's gonna get sick just watching my head movement and with that camera. But anyway,
Right.
we'll see how it turns out. Edit it all down, make a nice half an hour video from 20 hours of filming.
Do you
So
find that it's more effort or takes more just overall time to edit a video that's more outdoors than carving or carving or vice versa? Excuse me.
oh, 100%. A trip like this is far more work. I have I uploaded to my computer this morning. I got over I think 160, 170 clips.
Wow.
So that's a lot of clips. And if I only use just sections of each one,
Right.
you know, yeah, a lot of editing to be done.
Right.
That'll be my whole day tomorrow. I'll be happy if I get done in a 12-hour day tomorrow.
Hmm.
So, but I would like to get out for Friday. But yeah, but that's that. And before that, that was just the last couple of days. So that was what happened last week. Oh, I got my stock knife,
Oh yeah.
and I made
That
a video
was
about that.
there's a really cool, well, we'll get to that, but watching your video was falls in that oddly satisfying category. But what surprised me most about this cutter and this video that you posted is that you could cut through wood the cross grain
Oh, the end grain, yeah,
or
straight
end
through.
grain.
Yeah,
That's I didn't know that was
yeah,
even possible with
and
a knife.
that's a small one.
Hmm.
So anyway, people have since the video came out, like I researched this before. You know, I watched all the videos before I bought one. So everybody's sending me all these videos and telling me what I have and what I don't have. That's why
Right.
I always said stock slash clogger knife slash peg knife, you know,
No.
whatever, generically. But now
Right.
there's such distinction, so everyone's trying to educate me on my usage of the term clogger's knife. It should have a, you know, it should be offset blade and all this stuff. And
Huh.
yeah,
So it's
I
more
know
of a
what I
stock
have.
knife. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, again, simple little video like that is doing very well compared
Really?
to the carving video. So
Wow.
yeah, I don't know what the excitement was, but maybe because I was excited.
Yeah. Well, it was just awesome to watch this giant sharp edge slice through, decent sized pieces of wood like it's butter.
Hmm.
Just from
Yeah,
just using the leverage of the tool.
and I never even I didn't even that was my actual first time usage. So there's going to be so many little tips and tricks to learn. And I set up when I showed the cutting, I had just quickly set it up,
Yeah.
and everyone was like, "You should have put the eye bolt down deeper and all this stuff." I said it was just a quick demonstration. It wasn't a
Yeah.
permanent setup. It was
Yeah.
just for to show it. But anyway,
Oh, it was I loved watching that.
yeah, it was. I love sharp steel. I don't know what it is, but I have a sharp steel fetish.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
some people like other things, but I like
Yeah.
sharp steel.
You and I both. You and I both. Speaking of which, one of the things I did this week, I did some carving, but it wasn't in wood. Pumpkin carving. I did some pumpkin carving for a commercial that has yet to be released for a knife company I've mentioned before, and Wesson, and they've got a new release coming out. So he hired my housemate Ben to make the ad video, and he hired me to make the actual thing that's being filmed, which was me carving a pumpkin with their logo and some tree branches. And we did that whole thing where you set a light on the inside and then darken the room, and you can kind of see that based on the things that I left uncarved, you can see the
Yep,
contrast, and it's pretty neat. It's pretty neat. So it's
that's
like the design's glowing
that's fun.
from within. Yeah, I liked it. It was a fun process. A buddy of mine came by. He was over, which I'll get into that later if we end up talking about this, but he was over to help me with some other projects to kind of lighten my load. And he stayed for the rest of the evening, and he had so much fun watching us try and rig things up. But just having a third person there was so helpful from a direction standpoint, because I was focused on the carving. Ben was focused on all the gear and getting it to work properly. And
Yeah,
then Marco was calling shots like, you know what, I think it'd be really great if you did that or this, or how about you time it so that when the lightning goes off, because I have this light that can imitate all these different situations, right? And it imitates lightning if you set it up for that. So we kind of had this neat effect, like
that
creepy
is fun.
effect.
Yeah, yeah.
And Ben's the
Oh,
maestro with all these, slider cameras, and
yeah,
um,
yeah.
so it was
Oh,
fun.
that's big fun. What an
It was.
opportunity.
Yeah, it was cool. I was honored to be it's the second commercial I've done for them. The last one I did for them was an entire one, day endeavor. He hired a cinematographer to come out with his big fancy red camera, and it was, like I said, we had an assistant doing audio, and it was kind of a bear of a job, but that video went pretty well, and so they wanted to do another, and so I'm their ad man now, I guess.
Can you say what you carved?
Oh, it was just a face of it's like an old weathered kind of Native American face. So
Oh, that's a
yeah,
commercial for or an
Wesson.
ad or a
Yeah, if
commercial?
well, it's more of I guess it's more of I don't know where all they put it, to be honest, but they used it in their campaigning. So I'm not sure if any of it went to television, but it was all over the internet, their promotion. So if you look up Wesson, I believe it's Wesson Henry. The knife is the Henry, Wesen. You can see it there and see their newest releases. So that was fun. And I'm not I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but anyway.
Oh, good for you. That's a good story.
Thanks.
I like that.
So what about you? What was the highlight of the trip, would you say?
Highlight, oh, without question, the rafting out.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was wet.
Yeah.
It was cold and wet to start, but by the time we were done, the sun was shining. I mean, I was soaked right through. And we only had to hike maybe an hour, half an hour out, and being soaking wet, but it was just so fun. I've never been a whitewater lover. Like, whitewater scares me, and
right.
as it should, most people.
Right.
And this was, don't get me wrong, this was not crazy whitewater, but it was just turbulent water in spots, and you're bobbing through on this raft. And it was so much fun. It just felt so safe being in this little raft. Now, I should explain to the folks, this raft, I don't know what you're picturing in your head, but my toes are touching the front and my back is against the back. That just encompasses me sitting. And I had my backpack and my gear on top of my legs and just a double paddle. So it's a small raft, but it was just so stable. It was great. Yeah, I would never have done that in my little canoe. Like,
it's small, isn't it? It looks like a kid's toy. When you showed me what it looked like uninflated, I was thinking, like, I think I had something like, but this is not to be confused with the kids' nylon inflatable rafts.
No, this is not a hardware store kids toy. No, right. This is a high-end raft. So
right.
So, yeah, and I ended up. Well, it wasn't even mine either. It was my friend's, but we worked something out that I got to take it home. So,
oh, nice.
It's mine now.
So it's yours now.
It's mine now. So
do you think you'll take it out again?
I will, but for me, the point wasn't the exactly what we did. For me, it would just be great. Say you don't want to bring your canoe or something, but I'm not a beach guy. I hate the beach. But sometimes we go to the beach. Wouldn't that be fun? Just blow it up on the beach, go out there and hit the waves, or just go fishing, pond here, pond there. I can keep it in my truck.
Yeah,
it packs up like football. It's a football size.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
that's like,
so you can bring it anywhere you want and always have it handy. So
just keep it in the truck.
Yep.
That's cool.
So that was by far the best time, and I hadn't been with my buddy for probably a year. COVID messed up a couple of trips that we had planned, and so it'd been a long time since I hung out with him. So I was at his place. He lives up there. It's a 10-hour drive for me, but he lives there. So it was I was there on both ends of the trip. So yeah.
Right. That's fun.
Yeah. It seems to me, though, every time I drive up north, though, it just feels longer and longer and longer. I used to do it every other week,
Yeah.
Every other weekend. And now, like, COVID, just 2 years of actually not going up. And then, like, all of a sudden, a 10-hour drive, like, oh, what a slog. Before, it'd just be like, oh, you're just used to it, right? I'm just so not used to hardly leaving my town. So.
Right. Well, part of me wonders if we didn't leave town all that much growing up because of I personally hate flying. I think my dad does too. I don't know this for a fact. I think he's probably a lot more okay with it than I am, but part of me wonders if my dad just didn't enjoy the flying thing. But I know for myself, I'm constantly like avoiding flights. I've got 2 flights in the coming month, and I'm just
I absolutely hate flying.
Yeah, I think we've been through this.
We may have talked this not
Have
on the
we?
podcast, though.
Oh, it wasn't on the podcast.
No, I hate it. I mean, I wish they would even just give me a dummy steering wheel or something to feel like I have some control.
Exactly.
But, Oh, and the problem is with me is that I did a few of these trips, like I've been to Bolivia and Africa,
Hmm.
and so it's not even one flight, it's like 7 flights, and some of these jungle trips too.
Oh,
You go on your last couple of airplanes are these rickety things, and these the airports are in this field. Some of them had like a crashed airplane on the side of the airstrip. It's like, oh, it was so terrible. But when it's your time, it's your time.
nothing to convey a feeling of safety like broken machinery that you're flying
No,
in. The
no.
same machinery you're flying in broken on the side of the road, right?
Yeah, we were in some of these little planes, and we'd land, and we'd be greeted by like machine gun wielding men, and it's like, oh my
Nice.
goodness, this is
Oh, good.
yeah, yeah. Africa was the worst, probably. Bolivia was a little bit better, but
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know if I
Where
have
what?
it. Yeah,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Your coming flights, they're within the States.
Well, I lied actually after I said that. I realized I said two within this month. I think really just some driving, but then I'll be driving for one, but then flying to film uh Sarah Barraclough. We're going to film her caricature carving, put her in the school. The bridges, well, the running name for it right now, which I probably shouldn't even talk about because I'm guessing it'll change, right? Because the first name is usually bad for reasons so that you don't get too attached to it. It's just it's like the running name. And Sarah is for those of you who know, she's a great carver and excellent painter as well. And we're gonna film some instructional content, video. I believe it's the first like video instructional content that she'll have had, and that's gonna go up when we launch our carving school. Hopefully, I've been putting deadlines out there, but we keep passing them up because it takes forever with COVID to actually get to people.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a few people had to cancel and reschedule for post-COVID dates, but we're going to Utah, which is she's bordering the Zion, actually not far from Zion. I think a couple of hours out from Zion. So we'll visit out there and maybe hike a bit and film her, and then back on the scary airplane. And if there was a drug that I could take, and maybe you can relate to this, that would just put me away for an hour or two during the flight, completely put me out of consciousness, like right away. I'd take it. Like any sort of blocks, I don't care about the side effects.
I feel the same way about the dentist.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, and I know that they do have they will do it. But
Yeah.
I went to the dentist because I had a bad tooth.
Yeah.
Well, just a month or two ago, and I hadn't been since my last emergency visit. It was 8 years ago.
Oh, wow.
But I have full benefits. I can't go I just hate the dentist. I have a gag reflex like no one else. Like just the thought of them sticking their paws in my mouth is just enough to make me gag. And yeah, it was terrible. So they offer sleep dentistry, but not when all the doctors are catching up on back COVID operations and stuff. All the anesthesiologists are all at the hospitals, and dentists don't get them. That's not a priority.
Wow.
So, yeah. But of course, I've never done that either. Been knocked out to go to the dentist, but this time I had built it up so much in my head that I would have taken it in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Is that associated with any bad experiences you've had at the dentist, or is it just completely irrational?
No, I think my dad gagged a bit too, but it's just
the gag thing. Okay, that's not irrational then. Yeah, that makes sense.
The gag reflex and when you're a kid, they used to take these little cardboard X-ray tabs and cram them in the back of your throat.
Yep.
Like, and you had to bite down.
Like cut into the side of your mouth.
Yeah. But now, I mean, they're all ceramic now, but still, just the whole dentistry thing. I can do it to myself. I have a little clip where I took a Dremel to a tooth and filed off a broken tip or edge.
Oh my goodness!
But other people,
gosh, that's like Ron Swanson fodder there.
Yeah, well, it was a long weekend.
Except for even he was faking it. right? Did you?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right. Yeah, I do. Yeah, Ron Swanson
Yeah,
pulled the
yeah.
tooth out at the meeting.
And then
But
afterwards, he was like, the tooth was pulled yesterday at the dentist's office. I just wanted to show my workmates that I had the ability to withstand intense pain or
yeah,
something. Yeah.
yeah.
So your story.
Oh, mine was a side of a tooth broke off on a long weekend,
Oh,
and every like you can't keep your tongue away from a sharp edge for some reason.
yeah.
And I kept lacerating my tongue
Oh,
in the side of my cheek because it was just a sharp edge.
oh.
So I don't even own a Dremel. At the time, I had borrowed a fella's Dremel just to see if I liked it, and he had this little file bit in there. So I just went in there, rounded it off, and took that cutting edge off of it, and it got me through. In fact, I never went for. Well, I never went. So,
I'm having trouble with that.
yeah,
That's
do what you gotta do. It's like stitching your own cuts up. You ever stitch your own cut?
What?
I'm just joking.
Uh,
No, I would never do that.
this is gonna be the first and only episode that I throw up on.
There you go.
Oh goodness.
We didn't really have much of a topic for this show, did we?
No, we going into this, I realized I scrambled to look at my phone for feedback for mailbag portion because I feel like we're gonna have to make that beefy. We have nothing to talk about.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Well,
No
I
topics.
must say part of it is my fault because I kind of went absent for for 4 days that couldn't brainstorm much. But anyway, that's okay. I did see a comment. Somebody was asking about carving axes. I don't know if that was
Oh,
in the video or if it
yeah.
was emailed, but somewhere.
There it is.
But
Yep, found it.
what was the question exactly then?
Hello, Doug and Alec. I love your podcast. Very enjoyable to listen to while walking in the woods, thinking about carving. I love it. Annette, who wrote this, likes to walk in the woods thinking about carving. I started carving when I retired in 2019 before COVID started. I came across your channel, Doug, and have tried to reproduce many of your beginning carvings. Thanks so much for providing the videos and all of your thoughts and advice. I do have a question. What type of carving axe would you recommend? I'm looking into something light and easy to carry into the woods. Thank you for all you do, Annette.
Net. I wonder what she will be carving with a carving axe. I have shown character carving with an axe, but usually that was in the bush as well. So I wonder if she's thinking about my little mini one that I use or a bigger one. But anyway, I have two. Let me grab them here for the video.
Right. Doug is off camera now. Back on.
I have two here. You know, a Swedish carving axe, you can't go wrong. You just can't go wrong. It's all about the size you want. Gransfors Brooks makes wonderful axes, and they'll have you can get left or right side bevels only too. But this is my favorite one. This is by Julia Kaldhoff. Julia used to be the head of Wetterlings, which was bought out by Gransfors Brooks. So this lady has her own line now, and she's on Instagram. And Kaldhoff, Kalthoff or something like that. Kaldhoff axes, and that's my favorite. I like it. I love it, and I love supporting her little venture that she started after Wetterlings closed down, and it's all her now. So it's kind of fun. And of course, my other favorite guy is Svante Djarv, however you say it, Svante Djarv, SVANTEDJARV with the umulet or two in there somewhere.
Yep.
But this is my little one. I used to always carry a little Gransfors, a mini hatchet, and then that has been replaced by the Svante Djarv just because it has a bit of a rounder cutting edge that you can get more of a slice when you're cutting. But I don't usually they're saved for the cooks and spoon carvers and stuff, but I like to chunk off wood for my little characters in the bush with the axe, just because you're in the bush, right?
Right.
It just feels right. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on them. Like I said, I'm not a spoon carver, so they may not agree with my choices, but I mean, honestly, they're both Swedish and you can't go wrong. So
yeah.
But I did see a few emails that came in, and not to scold some members or listeners, but we'll keep this for the podcast. It's not a sideline to get into just Doug Linker videos and stuff. This is the email for the coffee and carving show. Not that Doug Linker didn't answer my question in the video that I commented on from 3 years ago. So
I did see that.
Yeah, there's been a few. I just deleted a few of them that because I want to be fair to the show. It's not I saw a video that you made 3 years ago, and what were you using? This is not what this is about. But
yeah. I did have one topic in mind, one topic that I haven't run by you yet that you may find to be completely boring, uninteresting, or unrelatable. But it came to me when I was talking to a customer today, and she and I were talking about the life of an artist. She isn't an artist, but she is a patron. She's a wealthy person who patronizes. The opposite of patronizes. She is very kind and supportive, and buys a lot of custom done metalwork, glasswork, clay, paint, all of the above, sculpture. She's commissioned me to do a large carving in the back of her yard, a 14-foot tall wildlife relief carving with carvings of her dog and multiple life-size deer and fawn and birds and squirrels and the like. But I digress. We were talking about, just kind of what it's like to be an artist and kind of own your skill, and how, in one sense you want to be, humble and understanding that, that what you have is a gift, right, that you've cultivated, but then also that, you should be able to celebrate when you've succeeded, when you like something that you've done. And one of the things that I was telling her is, when you make things, sometimes it's actually better to not be fully present when you're making it, to kind of just be in the zone, right, and not conscious of all the decisions that you're making, which can only be achieved by having a history of making the things that you're currently making, right? Like doing what you've done for a long time, gaining experience, becoming skilled in your craft, so that when you go to do your craft, there's almost an absence of left brain thought, right? You just kind of carve it. You're just making stuff. And so one of the things that I said, which was kind of a side note, and then I'll go to the question or the topic idea. It's, she said this, she said, if you want to be an artist, you can't attach yourself too much to the things that you make. You can't be too careful or too cautious. Otherwise it'll keep you from being productive. And I thought that was a really good point. I mean, I wrote it down because it related to me, at least, that sometimes if you're thinking about it too much while you're doing it, it can make the process less good.
Interesting.
And so for me, one of the ways I get around that is, and I'm very new to this. I've been doing this for a long time, but I used to think that these artists that would draw stuff before they carved it, or they would sculpt it in clay before they carved something, thought that was just kind of extra. Like, who would take the time who's got time for that? I got to make a living, But what I realized was they did that because they wanted to save time. And to me, at least, when you're doing something in clay, or even with pencil and pen, or pencil and paper rather, you can go backwards. You can erase stuff. You can rethink. You can move the clay around, add clay, subtract clay.
Yep.
Once you've started it in wood, you can't undo. So clay kind of frees you up to get all of your ideas out, all the left brain thinking that you have to do. or maybe a combination of both, right? You're kind of free balling it, and then all of a sudden you're like, you know what, that looks terrible. I got to fix this. You're getting all that critical thinking done so that when you go to the carving, you've got the model, you can just turn your brain off a little bit and go and drive. So, I guess the question or topic would be, do you feel like in your work that maybe there is a practice round that you do, or something that you do to get yourself out of your head when you're making content or when you're producing work?
No, because I have the freedom, and that's something that you're kind of hitting on too, is that when you're doing something for somebody else too, they have to give you that freedom,
right,
to go the way that you want to go.
Yeah.
They need to be aware of your work and not give you such extreme details that you have. Otherwise, it's not your work, right?
Yep.
But in my on my end, I don't get into that too much, because you say don't get attached to your work. All my work is looking at me, because I don't sell my work.
Right.
So it's basically just carving for myself. So as far as I have an idea in my head, I have toyed with the idea, like you said, with the clay. I've actually watched a little seminar. Well, I think it was the International Association of Woodcarvers had a guy on there talking about making clay first. And I can so see the benefit, but I don't have the patience. But I would like to. Like, so every time I get to a carving and say the arms are crossed or something, or the hands are behind your back, or how do you hold, like, oh, I wish I could just, by cutting it, you can go too far or have the hands the wrong way, and all of a sudden it doesn't look like what you intended. You can't go back. So the clay idea is a great idea, just to lay it out how you want the arms to feel or to look, or but as far as I do see great value in that. Of course, I don't know why I've never done it, because I never wanted to take the time to do it.
Yeah.
Because I guess the truth of the matter is, if I do make a mistake on something that's 4 inches tall, I'll just throw it out, grab another one. Maybe by the 4th one, I'll have it figured out.
Yeah.
Because you don't really, not many people keep their clay things after. They'll just smush it and save it for the next project. Yeah.
There's one guy, Fred Zavadil, he has an entire room full of every clay sculpture. I don't know if it's every single one he's ever done, but it's full. I mean, shelving all around the room, and every shelf is completely full of clay mocks. It's like, and they're all perfectly detailed, perfectly rendered, could be sold as, could be casted and sold as artworks on their own.
That's what I was just going to say. You could cast them.
I think you should. I mean, that would be, if I was there now, that's what I would tell him, to cast those and have them done. And even you could do them in plaster, but do it in bronze. I mean, with the quality of sculpt that he's doing, it's like, why not just turn them into bronze sculptures and sell them? Because they're awesome. But that's a whole nother world.
Yeah, I'd like to, we'll go back there, but give me your side of it. Because I want to talk about that casting, because I have no experience, but I want you to hear answer your question first, and then we'll go off on a tangent.
Yeah. Well, so I'm just like you. I don't like taking all that extra time to do the casting, or the clay before I do it in wood. I don't have the patience for it. And 99% of the carvings I've done, I don't do clay. I don't do a drawing beforehand. No, I don't really think about it a whole lot, other than as I'm carving the piece, as I move into it. Maybe I'll take some measurements if it's a portrait of a specific person, but even now I do that less and less, because I'm a little more comfortable with portraits, but still the goal is not to make a 1-to-1. It's not to make the person look exactly like I mean, that would be great, but at the end of the day, that's not exactly what you want anyway, right? It's like they could take a picture, or they could go to one of those kiosks at the mall and get their family member engraved in one of those glass blocks, the laser engravings and
Yeah, that's
holographic
right.
one, whatever those are.
Yeah.
So, it's like you're paying an artist to give you their interpretation. And if you look at people like Nicholas Uribe, Uribe, if I'm not mistaken, look at the way that he paints and draws. He'll draw his friends, his family members, but he's not giving you an exact representation of them. He's intentionally skewing some parts of their face, maybe making their face narrower and taller, but he's so good at what he does. He's so good. He could, if you wanted to sit there and make a perfect face, he could if you wanted to. He's not. And so you appreciate it when you see it. You go, well, that's really neat because he's got the skill, but he's stretching stuff.
Yeah, you talked about the cartooning a couple of weeks back too, and I thought about it after. It's like you're right. If you just take one feature, so if I took like your nose and your curly hair, I can make Alec, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then I could change anything or give you a huge mouth or a big toothy smile or whatever.
Yep.
But it only takes a couple of features to identify you, hey?
Right.
So yeah.
True. No, you're true. You're right. And so for my process, often more now though, I've been offering when I deal with a client, I'll offer a drawing, right? If they're like somebody who's never commissioned anything before, they don't know what they want, I'll do a really rough sketch. And that looks like, when I say rough, it's pretty rough. I'll do it on the iPad. And so I can submit, I can send them the file, the email, and they can look it over. And we often go back and forth a couple of times. But that is an extra layer, an extra added step that's reserved for larger, more expensive commissions.
Right.
But it's helpful. So there is that pre-process for me. There was, like I mentioned before, when I did the stuff for the Bengals, I needed some confidence that I could make the shapes. So I did it really quickly in clay. Again, it's hideous. If you looked at the clay model that I built, it wasn't detailed at all. It was just getting the major shapes and forms in place and moving through it. But yeah, I couldn't do that with every carving. Power to those guys that do it.
Yeah, and again, on my end, I'm the rinky dink buck here, buck there guy. Like it's not like it's you're not making big artworks, right? So this is, like I said, it doesn't hurt me to throw out a piece of wood here or there. It's just basswood. But do you have any experience with casting?
No, not in bronze, but other materials. Yeah. Well, just plaster really is the only experience I have.
Okay. And I was interested a while ago. Of course, I've learned finally late in my life now to not pursue things that I can't pursue, to not go off on a wild tangent. But I was looking into the silicone molding and stuff, like where you could just take a little guy, even like a little bear, and silicone him and layer the silicone, and then basically you just stretch it off.
Yeah.
As long as he's oiled up, and then you can just fill it full of anything. You can make little Sophie, my wife, has a play cement. It's not play cement, but it's a very fine cement that you can make like little plant pots and little craft cement. And you could make one of them in a heartbeat if you just had the silicone mold and you just or put plaster in them, and kids can paint them and smash them or whatever. But no, I've heard you talk about casting a few times about into the bronze and stuff. And I don't know if you had personal experience or just knew of it.
No, I'd love to do that, but no, I've yet to do it. I follow a guy who I've envied his. He has a metal guy who does his a welder who does all of his work in-house. So they'll pour it in his studio, and then Steven Winterburn, he'll shape it himself with a grinder, and that seems pretty cool to me.
Yeah, it does seem cool. Like I said, though, just one more tangent you can't dive into.
Right.
Our brains have to stay focused on something.
Yeah.
But all my life it's just been one tangent either way. So I'm just stay the course.
I know. Well, so I'm trying to figure out. So I've heard it said, and I think that I'm pretty much doing this or trying my best to do this, is to try when you're in your 20s to throw as many darts at the wall as you can to see which ones stick.
Mm-hmm.
So for my early childhood and into my adulthood, I did the same exact thing all the time. And now I'm thinking about trying to do projects that are outside of what I do, what I'm comfortable with, and just to see if anything sticks, so that if any of them take off, at least I've got something to look forward to in my 30s, right? That's my goal. But I don't know. It feels like you say, it feels exactly like that. It feels like I'm just spreading my time out, not focusing on anything, watching all my friends pick something and excel at it. And it's like, it's hard sometimes.
Yeah. Well, for example, this weekend again, like I've been weaning the people off of these outdoor trips on my YouTube channel and focusing more on the carving and craft side of it.
Mm-hmm.
But then I still throw one back in the mix
and
get them out, and then I'm gonna have to hear about it again. Like, when are you gonna do the next trip? Well, just confusing everybody because I can't stay in one topic. So, but I like it too. So it is what it is.
And life is boring if it's just one thing every day, right?
That's right. And there are videos on the internet. Let's be real. No one's gonna die either way. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, that's good. Now, as far as what I've been listening to and up to, like, I have to apologize again to our audience that I feel like a zombie. I'm not. I'm hardly here, but I listen to a lot of podcasts, but nothing that was that fantastic. A theme though was I used to really like Norm Macdonald, the comedian.
Oh yeah,
he's a good old Canadian comedian, and I did listen to a bunch of his friends do tributes to him and podcasts for him. But I don't have anything I could actually recommend, but it was just kind of fun to. Oh, I should say that he just passed away last week, and young, 61. But the whole thing was that he was performing and doing things. He had cancer for 9 years and never told a soul.
Wow.
He just kept it to himself because he didn't want any pity. And then he died. It's just, I mean, he was a little bit more isolated during the COVID, but for 9 years, and then you start listening to his old jokes, and he does joke about death and cancer and stuff, and that, so it's always been on his mind. That was just a fascinating little aside that when you start looking back, you're like, oh, it's been on his mind all these years, and it's sad. But
yeah, no, you're right. When I heard about his death, I looked back at some of his comedy, and he does talk about like, well, I'm glad you're talking about his dad and his family saying that they were glad that he died of a heart attack in his sleep. He's like, well, I'm pretty sure a heart attack would wake you up.
Like my cat does walking across my chest. Yeah.
So
yeah, what have you been entertaining yourself with?
Hold on just a second.
Alex has left the screen area and he's getting something. He's got his stringed instrument there.
The jingle maker.
The jingle maker. The string jingle maker.
As named by Doug Linker. The podcast I've been listening to lately that I've got really excited about is a kind of deep dive into how Tim Ferriss started his how I built this podcast, how I built his podcast basically from scratch, kind of deconstructing it. He had kind of a young fresh meat podcast guy interviewing him, so he had all these nerdy questions to ask him, and questions I've always wondered about listening to his show, because part of the thing about Tim is his podcast has 700 million plus downloads, so It's not quite to Rogan status, but I think it's one of the closest to
This
his.
is the Tim Ferriss show. Is that what it's
Yep.
called? Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, just hearing about how he built this behemoth and his background, of course, which I was somewhat familiar with, but was just like, it was really cool. It was neat to listen to his explanation of all the aspects of his podcast. And so
I've
that
never
was
listened to his podcast. Is he just
really,
like a general anything
yeah.
topic or yeah?
Well, he kind of, so he's famous for 3 books. Well, really 2 books, The 4 Hour Work Week.
Yeah, yes. Yep,
Yep.
that's him. Yep.
Which he kind of tried to shed out from his persona. And then there's also the 4 hour there's the 4 Hour Body, and then the 4 Hour Chef. And the 4 Hour Body was a success. But then he's got these other books, which I have laying around here, which are excellent and worth picking up. This one's called Tribe of Mentors. And he has another, which is called Tools of Titans. And I think Tools of Titans is my favorite of the two, but they kind of just break down. He interviews all kinds of people. Actually, I just opened it randomly to Bear Grylls. He interviews him and talks about, when you feel overwhelmed or unfocused, what do you do? Or how has failure or apparent failure set you up for later success? Do you have a favorite failure of yours? So he goes through kind of fun interview questions and gives you a pretty good dose of wisdom from people who have been successful at their respective things. And so, yeah, he does that. He kind of focuses on that, kind of deconstructing the people who are most skilled in their craft, and interviews them. So it's an interview-based podcast. It definitely inspired me to start my podcast, no doubt. It was the one podcast that I modeled mine after, embarrassingly so. So if you watch it, you'll see all some of the formats that I've stolen from him. Even the logo, I stole some of the designs from. Pretty embarrassing, but it's true. I really like that guy's stuff. So
I've never listened to him. I should check him out.
Yeah. But that's pretty much. I also listened to Rogan argue with Sanjay Gupta about health stuff, COVID stuff. That was kind of an interesting conversation. What else? Yeah, I've been listening to a lot of gypsy jazz.
What?
Yeah. It kind of sounds like this. Well, I shouldn't play it actually, because we'll have problems with.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
What if I played 2 seconds? No, not good.
Yeah, I don't know.
It'll get flagged.
Risking it. Just explain gypsy jazz.
So it's like kind of like I'm trying to think of, like, it's like, is this in tune? Sort of. How does it? It's like, it's kind of like a fun, dancey, acoustic jazz kind of thing. It's all like upbeat. I don't know. It's kind of like, it's like if what bluegrass is to country, gypsy jazz is to jazz.
So technically, can you call it gypsy jazz?
I don't know if that's politically correct, but that's what they kind of call it.
Okay. Yep.
We'll
do you know what a gypsy flower is?
No.
Well, a gypsy flower is basically a stick whittled backwards, keeping the it's like a feather stick for fire making, only you keep the shavings on the stick and basically just curl the shavings around, leaving a little nub in the middle, drill a hole in it, and then you got this flower on a stick, and you can put food color or whatever you want on it, and make a whole bouquet of these. And gypsies used to make them.
That's cool.
So I always wanted to make a video. I still might just go make a bunch of gypsy flowers, but the comments were like, the same as everything all in this political correct world, that you stealing their heritage and all this stuff. I'm like, come on, you guys, like, I'm a gypsy, and that's how we made a living when I was a child, and you're stealing our culture, and like, crazy world.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe a little oversensitive, but
Yeah. Anyway,
who
that's
knows?
fun.
So that's pretty much it. That's what I've been listening to. That's what I've been taking in. And I'm also reading a book with my girlfriend. It's called it's by Timothy Keller. And
I
that's,
know that name.
yeah, he's a good
Well,
author.
he took off with a big book. He had a real hit that went. Timothy Keller is a pastor of a church, yes,
Yes.
of a mega church pastor.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
I could see that. I'm trying to look up what his most popular book might be.
But anyway, sorry, I interrupted you, but
Oh, The Reason for God, maybe. I don't
no.
know. I don't know. But this one's about marriage. It's just it's not exactly what we thought it would be. We were reading it with with the intention of kind of like taking a step into looking at what marriage is, trying to get some insight on that and maybe some wisdom from other people. And it ended up being a book that's basically talking to married people, right? And so,
Oh,
but still good, still really
yeah.
good. So we've enjoyed it, and
Well, that's good.
that's about it.
This will be fun to see where this goes, eh? I'm all we'll have the wedding podcast
Oh my god.
live from Alex's wedding.
Yeah, you'll be there with your hat.
Yeah.
Mailbag. No, just kidding.
We missed that. We didn't call for the mailbag jingle.
Oh,
Maybe
well,
we'll,
so
you know what? Why don't you just play us out today?
all right.
Did you have anything else? Sorry. I think our time is up. Do you have anything else that you want to talk about or add?
No, I think we covered about everything there is.
Yeah. So,
All right.
Well,
All right, folks.
Thanks for listening, everybody. I promise I'll be back at 100% next week. And Alec, play us out. Very good.
I tried.